Tonight I just want to tell you a little story about a run that I had yesterday. That it's not an uplifting story. There's no happy ending to this story. There's no heroics. There's no gesture of great generosity. This is just a common type of run, believe it or not. Maybe it's slightly uncommon, but you'll understand. But it's something that police officers do on a daily basis. It's part of the grind. It's part of the, it's just being part of the system where you know that nothing you do is going to change that situation. You might as well just handle it the best you can. The situation I'm going to talk to you about is I was called to a local business about 8 in the morning, and they were complaining about some homeless people who had set up a tent on their back porch. So I get there, and sure enough, there's a tent on the back porch of this business, and it was right up next to the door. I'm assuming they were trying to get out of the wind and the rain, stuff like that. So I wake them up. Turns out it's a 17-year-old boy and his mom sleeping in this tent. You know, I get them up. They're respectful. Some of my observations, you know, when I first shook the tent, I expected it to be some really nasty looking guy and his dog, you know, somebody with like meth teeth or something. And then I heard two, it sounded like female voices coming from the tent. And then I heard one of the voices say mom to the other one, or mama, something like that. So I realized, okay, this is a kid and his mom. And then so the boy comes out first, and he's telling me, hey, I'm sorry, you know, normally we're out of here by now, but we overslept today. As he they had a little 6-pack of those little Pepsi bottles. They had some Diet Pepsis, and that he cracked one up. I heard it pop, so it was the first open of the day, and that was the very first sip of liquid he had that day, was a Diet Pepsi. So while he's drinking his Diet Pepsi and starting to put things back into their shopping cart that they had stolen from a Big Lots store, mom comes out of the tent, and she's holding this clear plastic container that looked like it was like you'd buy baked goods or something in. There's no baked goods or anything in it anymore, but it was full of urine. Because sleeping in that tent overnight, instead of getting out to go to the bathroom, they were peeing in this open top container in their tent, and they were just sleeping in there. That was just one of my observations. So they start going about their business, taking the tent down, apologizing emphatically, saying that they didn't mean any harm. The business owner walks around the side of the business and tries to yell at me, or tries to get my attention. I tell him, hey, just hang on, I've got another officer coming, they'll talk to you, let me deal with this. So knowing that I was gonna have to take a report about the situation, because they're gonna want them trespassed in case they come back at a future date, they're gonna want them criminally charged, I got their information, hopped in the car to verify it, and I found out that the boy was listed as a missing person through Children's Services. So his mom does not have custody of him, the county does, and I was going to have to return him. So I went over to my partner and I said, hey, I think this kid's listed as missing, hang out with him for a minute, I'm going to make some calls. So while that was going on, the mother told the boy, hey, I'm gonna go over to the gas station, which was like it was just like 3 or 4 buildings down. She wanted to go to the gas station to use the restroom. So the boy stayed there, packed up the tent, put everything in their shopping cart, and was hanging out with us, waiting for his mom to come back. And he told the other officer while I was in the car, he's like, I know that I'm missing and you guys have to take me back to Children's Services, that's fine. Can we just wait for my mom to come back before we go? And I get out, the other officer tells me that, you know, they've already made this agreement. I say that's fine. We're standing out in the cold. It was like 25 degrees with the wind chill that morning, and the sun was still low, so we were standing in the shade, and it was quite cold. Sorry, I've got a tickle in my throat. We stood there for about a half hour, and mom never came back. So I asked the boy, I was like, hey, do you drink coffee, bud? And he said he did. So I offered him a ride over to the gas station where his mom went to the bathroom. Figured, hey, we'll just get a cup of coffee. We'll get warmed up. You can say goodbye to your mom, and I'll take you back. When we got over to the gas station, his mom wasn't there. So we both fixed up our coffee. I drank mine black because that's the way coffee is meant to be drunk. And he got like the biggest cup. I think he used a cup that's meant for soda, and it was like half milk, a quarter sugar and then a quarter coffee on top, and that was basically his breakfast. So he mixes up his coffee, and then he tells me, well, you know, sometimes the manager here yells at mom, so she doesn't come to this gas station. Sometimes she goes over there. So we drive over to the other one, we look for her there. We're not finding her. We drive around for not long, another minute or two. And he says, he's like, you know what, officer, it's okay. You can go ahead and take me. She probably thinks that she was going to be arrested if she got caught with me, so I think she took off. So make an agreement with the guy that I'm going to go ahead and take him over to Children's Services. We go back, tell the other officer, hey, you mind hanging out with their stuff? Just keep an eye on it until mom comes back. I'm going to take him, and we're good to go. So we get driving. Then we had a couple funny conversations. The first one, he's telling me, the 17-year-old kid who's homeless, living in a tent with his mom, he's telling me, hey, officer, it's okay. You don't have to worry about anything. He says, I'll be back in an hour or two. Don't worry about it. And I was like, well, how are you going to do that? He said, well, every time that I go through this, I get to Children's Services. I let the officer bring me in and get me checked in. He goes, I like you guys. You guys are all really nice to me, and I don't want to get you in trouble, so I don't give you any trouble. Once you guys get me checked in and then you leave, what I do is I say, hey, can I go in and get a snack? I haven't had anything for breakfast. Then he goes in and gets a snack, fills his pockets up with food and whatever he can find, and he jets out the side door, finds a way back to that side of town, and he's back with his mom in an hour or two. He knows the drill. So then it's a quiet drive. You know, it's like a 25-minute drive, and he asked me to turn the radio on. So I turn the radio up, and this country song comes on. I can't remember what song it is. And he says, oh, this song reminds me of my dad. He's literally singing it out loud in the backseat of my car. And I figure his dad died a long time ago, or his dad was estranged. And so I asked him, when was the last time you saw your dad? And he said, I saw him about 5 days before he died. And then he tells me he died just about a year ago. And I asked him, I was like, were you living with your dad before that? And he said he was. So his mom is a drug addict, and she's homeless. She's been on the streets for his whole life. He was living with his dad, who was also a drug addict, but a functional drug addict. Ended up overdosing and crashing his car and dying. When that happened, this boy went into state custody, and that's when he started running away and linking up with his mom. There's really no point to this story, or no ending or anything. I took him to Children's Services. I got him checked in. He gave me a smile, said and thanked me for helping him out, and that was it. And I'm sure before I made it back to my side of town, he was already out of the building. It's just one of those stories that people don't hear, and it's something that I see quite regularly. And because I see it so regularly, I understand what these people are going through, and I deal with them appropriately. I don't think the general public is aware of how intimately we interact with these people, and it's really unfortunate, because some of the decisions that are being made as far as funding and manpower and all this other stuff, it's being made under the premise that those interactions are always negative, and that's simply not true. And I hope somebody figures that out. So those are going to be my thoughts for today. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.